let's get into this. First, we're going to do intros, and then we're going to jump into talking about the Creative Freedom Summit. So, hi, my name is Nordin. I work in the open source program office at Red Hat, working as a code of conduct specialist, and you most likely know me as the former F-Cake, just changed out of that role just a couple of weeks ago, but I've been involved in Fedora design and Fedora badges since 2013. Designed over like 250 of those badges that everybody loves, and been a part of multiple wallpapers, and just also spent a lot of time mentoring Fedora designers. So really excited about creative free software and the Fedora design team. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to hand it over to Jess.
So hi, I'm Jess Chitas. I'm based in the Red Hat Waterford office. I'm an intern in the Fedora design team and also the community platform engineering team. If you've seen a new Nest Flock or Hatch logo around, that was me. And I also created the new color mascot that we have as well. So excited to also be a part of the Creative Freedom Summit, and I'm going to pass it over to Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Kidney. I'm joined Red Hat in July 2021 as an intern. That was my first interaction with Fedora. And yeah, I'm involved in the design team, the web and apps team as well, currently revamping the Fedora website, and also Fedora accessibility. So I do that with FIPL then as well. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for those intros. Okay, so what's the Creative Freedom Summit? So this is going to be a virtual event, and we decided to focus on a couple goals, right? We have some primary goals and we have some secondary goals. So our primary goals, promoting open source creative tools, spreading knowledge of how to use them, and connecting creatives across the FOSS ecosystem. So how are we going to do that? We've chosen a range of creative tools and experts on open source tools, and also folks who have created careers around open source tools and free software. We're going to record the informational sessions and share them on the Fedora YouTube once the event is complete. We're also working to promote this event to a very wide range of audiences and communities. So open source design communities, just open source communities, just design communities, just educational communities. And we're also going to promote this to free software focused content creators. So we're really hoping to reach a very wide audience with this event. And then we have some secondary goals. We want to promote the Fedora design team as a welcoming group. We want to create a potential onboarding path for new design contributors. And we want to spread information on how to use creative open source tools in communities. So how can you use these tools to create or to optimize your community or improve your community? So how we're going to do this, we're hosting social sessions so people can get to know us, the Fedora design team. And we're also, organizing this ecosystem-wide event for creatives to connect. We're going to have sessions that are focused on how the Fedora design team uses software X, like, for example, PenPot or Inkscape or GIMP or Blender, so that we can kind of provide an easy onboarding for some folks to get more involved. Like, how do we use this tool, and how can you use this tool to be a part of our team? And how are we going to spread info about using open source tools? It's kind of the same as the last one. We're going to show how the Fedora design team wields these open source tools to make community stuff happen. So these are the goals of the Creative Freedom Summit. And I'm going to hand it over to Emma.
Thanks, Marie. Yeah, so what topics will the summit cover? So a lot of great open source tools will be covered. So there's PenPot, so that's a web-based design and prototyping platform. We have Inkscape, that's a vector graphics editor. Blender, which is a 3D computer graphics software. Krita, that's for digital painting. GIMP, which is an image editor. Kden Live, so that's video editor. And then there's also going to be a number of other open source softwares that will be discussed as well. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Jess then for the next slide.
Yeah, so who will be presenting at the summit? So we're still working on dates at the moment, so we can't promise that all of these people are going to be talking, but we've invited the following anyways, that and they've had an amazing positive response back. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get everyone that's on the list. So we have a lot of great names on the proposed lineup, as well as some people from the Fedora design team as well. So more of the well-known names, I suppose, would be like Pablo Ruiz Quiz. I'm probably butchering that. I'm so sorry. But and he's the CEO and co-founder of PenPot. We also have Martin Owens as well, who's a programmer for Inkscape, as well as many other people on the list, like Pat David, who uses GIMP for photo processing, and many more. And then we also have people from the Fedora design team as well, who will be doing talks on what they've worked on in Fedora. So like me and Marie, and we have Mo as well. So, and we'll also have Morgan Lemmer, who will be hosting a Hack and Craft as well, which would be really fun. So I'll pass it over then to Marie, who's going to talk about our possible new logo.
Thank you, Jess and Emma. Okay, so we have a working group that's come together to make this Creative Freedom Summit happen. So we had a brainstorming session, came up with a bunch of like associated words and ideas to do with the Creative Freedom Summit to kind of help jumpstart the process around creating a logo. So stuff like artist, sketchpad, wings, butterfly, gathering, mountains, backpacks, sort of that summit creative freedom word association sort of thing. So on the left, you'll see my original sketches. So I just kind of came up with a handful of ideas, not really caring if they're good or bad, just trying to get out as much as I could. And I shared them with Jess, and her and I chatted about them some. She pointed out a couple that she thought would be a good choice or successful. And so I chose one, and then came up with this first draft. So the image in the middle is the first draft, and I sent that over to Jess to get some more feedback. And then I ended on the one on the right. So it's still a work in progress, and Jess is about to show us what she's working on, another option for the logo. But between the two of us, I'm positive we're going to come up with something really cool. So I'm going to pass that over to Jess.
Yes, so I did a couple sketches myself on when we were talking about the mountains and having like a backpack filled with all of your open source stuff, and just like art supplies as well. But we kind of went with the one in the bottom bottom right corner. So my idea for that one was to have like users, but also like people meeting up, but then they're all kind of art heads, so they all have different utensils as their heads. We brought down the heads a bit more to kind of be part of the bodies, because we felt like I kind of felt that they were a bit disconnected and they were looking a bit like gravestones, but we won't say anything about that. So we made the color palette also look more on the Fedora side. These are only placeholder ones that I have in the top right image that you can see here. So I kind of brought them more down to the Fedora style palette. And we also opted for the landscape version rather than the portrait. So I also changed the font from Helvetica to Montserrat, but that was actually a problem on my part, because I sketched these all in Procreate, but there are definitely other open source softwares you can use, like Autodesk is a really good one, but it wouldn't let me download Montserrat onto my laptop, so I had to bring it into Inkscape and type it up there and then bring it back to my tablet. And then I'm still deciding on whether the font will be black or a solid, the Fedora dark blue. But this is the proposed one I have for my version of the logo. So I'll pass it over then to Emma.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so sounds awesome. How can I participate? So when will it be? The current date is to be announced. We're currently working with speakers and host availability. What platform will we use? So we are going to use Jitsi and stream with PeerTube. This is the same pairing used for the Fedora design team meetings. Element will also hopefully be integrated as well. What if you can't make it? Recordings will be available on the Fedora YouTube channel as soon as possible after the event. And then importantly, will there be a badge? Yes, we are working on the logo design and other assets for the event, including the badge. And then Jess is just going to talk about the social events then.
Yeah, so there's a lot of free and open source apps on the internet that you wouldn't even, like creative apps that you wouldn't even think. So one of them is, we've actually used it before. I think, was it a Fedora release party event, I think.
Is it Scribble? Because we're going to use it later today.
Yeah, Scribblio.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be using it today as well. So that's what we use for the Pictionary. And what's nice about Scribblio as well is that you can actually add custom words. So we can add like GIMP and Kdenlive and all that, and you can draw the logos and stuff like that. So then we also have Gartic Phone. So how Gartic Phone works is you get a prompt and you have to draw it, and then that picture gets sent to another person and they have to guess what it is, and then their guess gets sent to another person and they have to draw it. So and then this happens a couple of times, and then at the end you have to see if the last guess was close to the first prompt, but you also get to see the evolutions of the drawings, which is pretty cool. So you could get something like, someone could draw, let's say, GIMP or something, and then it turns into Inkscape at the end somehow. I don't know, but it's stuff like that. And then the Hack and Craft is a virtual meeting that combines a group of users that use free software, but also it's kind of like a craft workshop as well. So if you're aware of the podcast Foss and Crafts, it's a place where you can talk about free software, and you'll also be showing off your projects that you're doing in them free software as well. So it's a nice kind of group activity thing, and get to know more people as well and what they're doing in the community. So, and I'll pass it on to Marie then.
Cool. Thank you, Jess and Emma. I'm really excited for Foss and Crafts. Usually they host it on a Saturday night, which is like, I'm off in another land that's not Twitter or, Foss time. So I'm usually not like remembering that it's happening. So the idea of putting it during this event is really exciting to me. I have a big background in crafting and drawing and fine art. So anyway, there's a lot of people with us here today. So maybe you're saying, I'm inspired. Can I get involved in the Creative Freedom Summit? There's definitely ways that you can get involved, and there's a lot of things to do around creating an event. So just to name a couple, you can join our meeting. We have something that's weekly or bi-weekly, depending on everyone's availability, and there's holidays and BDO and all the stuff. So we're trying to meet weekly to bi-weekly. You can check out the evolution of our event planning on Mindshare Ticket 359. So if you want to read a little bit of history about it. I also recently made a discussion post. So if you're into the discussion forum, feel free to check out what we have going on there. Something that we're definitely going to need help with is promotion. We need writers and people willing to jump in with communications. And also we'll need design assets. We have plenty of designers around, but there's so much organizational stuff to do that we still need help with that sort of thing. So we need writers, designers, people willing to jump in with communications, post to their own social networks and platforms that they're a part of, but also, Fedora platforms as well. We're looking for other communities that might be interested in learning about creative free software. So if you have like a community or a contact that that would be interested in this sort of thing, send it our way. Add it onto the Mindshare ticket, add it onto the discussion thread. You can also message me directly on Element. I'm on Fedora's instance, and my username is recatnor. So you'll find me in a lot of the different chat areas. So if you have like a community or group of people that would be interested in this, we definitely want to reach out to them. Like I said before, artists and designers who want to help create design assets once we have the logo finalized. And project management skills are super underrated, and we always need more people who are willing to like jump into spreadsheets, do research, send emails, do coordination, figure out some of the nitty gritty details, if you will. Send out email reminders, this kind of thing. So if you are into providing that kind of support, we can always use more people to do that. And then last but not least, like, are you a pro with a creative open source tool or one of its features? You can absolutely pitch a session and we'll take a look at it and evaluate if it fits in with the goals of the summit. And, we want to tell the Fedora creative story with this event and how, one of those goals was to help onboard people into Fedora doing creative work. So if you have a tool and a feature that you want to show off with a session, that is absolutely something we're interested in. Thanks for attending our session, and I think we should take some time for Q&A. But before we do that, I want to thank the folks who are not here with us today, including Maureen Duffy, Ms. Mo, Joseph Gayoso. I think he's probably here in the crowd, maybe, Smara Goel, and Jess Emma, who are here, and then also Isa Gordillo. So they've been a part of making this idea come to life, which I got at the last nest and then opened a Mindshare ticket and said, hey, we're going to do this. So thanks everyone for like getting behind my vision for this and making it something really cool. So let's see if there's anything in the Q&A. So we have a question from Edward. Hi, Edward. Can I submit a remote talk about audio production in the Creative Summit? Absolutely. If it is using free software, you can absolutely pitch a session. So I'm going to actually just get a link to where that should be pitched, so that you have that ready to go. And I see that there are other people who are interested in helping out. So if that's the case and you're ready to jump in, let me also get the discussion thread. So in either one of these places, you can say, hey, I'm interested. Here's my email. This is what I'd like to do. And I will include you into our next meeting invitation, share some of the HackMD pads that we've been working in. We have a team space over there on HackMD. We have a spreadsheet that we're using to coordinate some of the details and, the actual schedule and the contacts and all that sort of stuff. So feel free to jump onto either one of those threads and let us know that you're interested. We're really excited to have more people on board. All right, so someone put in a suggestion here. Would be great to have a session on animations with FOSS. So I know that we're going to have some Blender sessions, and I think at least one of them is going to be focused on animations. So if you know of someone who is a specialist in creating those, you can recommend them. We have no problem cold emailing people and saying, hey, we want you to be a part of this. And there's also a good chance that someone on our team might already know someone who has those skills. All right, we have another question. Do we have people who are working on tool templates for common distribution? So I think what you're asking, this is from David Duncan. I think what you're asking is, are there templates for like Inkscape, for example, for people to like create badges? or just want to make sure I'm understanding the question correctly? Like for colors. Okay, so we do have the Fedora color palette. Also, Vipul says, I know some amazing and open source design and accessibility web dev. Yes, please do share the contact, Vipul. That sounds great. So for colors, I'm still not sure I understand your question. Emma or Jess, if you have an idea of how to answer this one, feel free to jump in.
I'm just thinking, is this about like the Fedora color palette? Oh yeah, it says yeah, and images for use in stencils, etc. I'm still kind of confused a little bit.
I know on our pen pot space there's like an asset library which has all the colors and then all the characters and things like that as well, that can be available. I think it's just on pen pot at the minute. I'm not entirely sure, but it is somewhere. So
Well,
maybe we could.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, sorry to put in. But like I'm working on the Fedora brand book at the moment, and we're hoping to have a website for that, and any kind of materials you want, like color palettes or like characters or logos or anything like that, they will be available to download. So that's what myself and Mo are working on at the moment. So if that answers your question. Okay, perfect. Cool.
So I think right now it's mostly the Fedora design team who has access to the pen pot. And I think the brand book is kind of supposed to be the more external, the rest of the community has for use. But if you ever want a certain piece of artwork that you've seen around, like the Fedora logo or one of the mascots or something of that nature, you can go to the Fedora GitLab and make a request and say, hey, or Fedora Design GitLab, I should specify, and say, hey, like I'm looking for a piece of art or this specific asset in order to create XYZ thing, and someone will help you out with getting that. So you can always request that. Right. Yeah. We want to make sure it's being used in the right context. Absolutely. Though I will say, like, you can find a lot of source files for like magazine banners and that sort of thing, like here and there. And also in the Fedora Design GitLab, you can also find source files. So if you look around enough, you might be able to find like an SVG or a source file of the thing you're looking for. But yeah, we do try to make sure that our brand is being, um, displayed in the way that we want it to, in for uses that are approved, and that's kind of the idea behind the brand book too, is to just make sure that we're kind of keeping that aesthetic and keeping our friendly Fedora look. Oh wait, okay, I think we might have time for one more question. At Red Hat, we have Patternfly on the one hand and Red Hat Design System downstream from Patternfly. Would Fedora consider aligning tokens and styles with Patternfly? Could be a cute palette. So I think that the expert on the Fedora design team would be Mismo about Patternfly. So I can't answer a lot of questions about Patternfly, but I think I'll try to gather this Q&A here and see if Mo might want to do a response to that one. But I think that like a collaboration could be really cool. So I'm open to that. All right, let's fit one more in. We have 1 more minute. Greetings. Must the creative software be fully free and open source, or can it contain proprietary components like plugins? I'm not sure. I think it would depend on what it is. I think we would want to take a look at what you might be suggesting and do like an evaluation of that. But I don't think it's off the table. I think the free software, that basis is the most important piece. And if there's plugins that are proprietary, I mean, I think coexistence is something that we've come to terms with, even though we do our best to use free software as much as we can. I accidentally missed one. Speaking of colors, have you heard about the Pantone color situation? Yes, I have, and it's prevalent, and that is how most things are printed these days. So it is now the end of our session time. So I'm going to jump off and let the next team jump on. Thanks, everybody, for all the engagement. And thank you, Emma and Jess.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
everyone. Thanks, Marie. Bye.
Bye.